most importantly, we want to make sure we have full life and full mana. That means 400 hit points and 200 mana points. Let's see, the other thing we want to make sure we do is we want to have a full set of armor. And depending on what style game you like to play, that can either be the molten armor or could be the necro armor if you want to be a ranged player using guns, or the jungle armor if you prefer to be a spellcaster. Killing Eye of Cthulu right now just so we can see how far we've come along. He is a cakewalk. We're not even trying to dodge him. He barely hurts us. And this demon's side just rips through him like there's no tomorrow. You'll find a lot of those summoning items in chests and stuff as you continue playing. It's a good, easy source of money. Just gonna sell everything he dropped because we don't need it. Yeah, so like I was saying, we've got our full sets of good armor. We want to make sure we get this Knight's Edge, the molten pickaxe, the molten ham axe, some good weapons. We've got one hellevator on this side. You'll notice when I first dug it, it was only 2 tiles wide. Later I went back and dug it down one more tile width just to make it 3 tiles wide. That's because after we kill this hard mode, after we kill this wall of flesh, it activates hard mode and it is going to add crimson and a new biome called hollow, which is like the opposite of crimson. And it's going to add huge patches of it that crisscross the world, and they will spread pretty rapidly. But they cannot jump over a gap that is 3 tiles wide. So having a 3 tile wide hellevator on one side and on the other side of our base is going to kind of put our base in quarantine. The only reason that we want to keep that stuff away from our main base is because if the crimson corrupts this whole area around our base, the NPCs will move out. They will not stick around. They will stay if it's hollow, but it still can be kind of nasty to deal with that. So I'm going to go ahead and dig another hellevator straight down from here, and I'm not going to make you watch that. And then connect the two underneath. You don't want to go too far because the biomes that spawn in will crisscross the world. We want to connect it to above the midway point. The higher the better, probably. I'm going to do it right about here where the underground turns into the cavern layer. Okay, we've got them connected. I will point out that this is completely optional to quarantine your base in this way. The only thing is I've had to relocate my base 1 or 2 times on other playthroughs, and it is not very much fun. It takes a long time to move the chests over and get everybody moved back in, so I highly recommend doing it this way. The other thing we're going to do now is expand our base up another 2 or 3 floors, just just to make sure that as we start getting new NPCs in hard mode, we've got places for them to stay. There we have it. 9 more rooms available for people to move into. I also need to replant these acorns, or else I'm going to have no more wood. One other thing we want to do, we want to take a lot of the dirt and stone that we've dug up over the time we've been mining and digging elevators. Rather than throwing it away, I like to keep it mainly for what we're going to do to set up our boss fight. Basically, we're going to make a huge bridge across half of the underworld, and we're going to use that to fight the Wall of Flesh, which is the boss of the underworld. So you want to pick one half of it, and it really doesn't matter, either side is fine. So I'm going to head over that way. Okay, here we are at the left edge of the world. So we're just going to take our blocks and start laying them down. So I like to put a chest here and put all my extra voodoo dolls and everything into that chest, because this is a boss that you're gonna want to kill it quite a few times. It has a number of very good drops. So having a chest nearby with everything you need to fight this boss, it's not a bad idea. Okay, we have arrived at my elevator, and you can see our bridge extending all the way across the underworld. This might seem excessive, and it kind of is, but your first time fighting this boss can take a long time, and he gets faster as you deal damage to him. So it is very well possible that it could take you the entire length of this bridge to kill him on your first try. There are other ways to kill him without building a ridiculous bridge like this. You could use obsidian skin potions and water walking potions and just run along the surface of the lava, but that also means that you need to fight the boss while running away from him and jumping over little cliffs and buildings and stuff. It's much trickier, and I would not recommend it for your first playthrough. Right now I'm just running back and collecting all the loot that dropped behind me as my minion was killing everything. Then I'm going to return to base and get some potions for our first fight against this guy. We're going to fight him a few times because, like I said, his drops are very good. thing I think I may have, possibly could have forgotten to mention is the reforge. One of the Goblin Tinker's most useful abilities is to reforge any item you give him. Weapons, tools, and accessories can all be reforged, and that's going to randomly change the modifier. So for example, I've got this obsidian shield. This is going to be very useful throughout hard mode. I know I'm not going to trade it for something else, so I'm going to take this and reforge it and try and get a better modifier. Plus 3% movement speed is nice, but what we want is either more offense or more defense. And as you can see, it's going to cost 4 gold, 40 silver just to reforge this thing once, and we still don't have the modifier we're looking for. So this is where most of your money is going to go into, is in reforging your tools. 2%, it can get up to 4%, so I'm going to reforge. Melee speed, not as useful. 3% damage, I'll take it. So that's what reforging is. When you get towards the end game where you're trying to squeeze as much damage or defense out of a certain setup as possible, you're going to spend a lot of money reforging all your accessories to get, you know, the maximum amount of damage possible. Sometimes you might want to go for critical hits, sometimes you want to go for as much defense as possible. So that's where you're going to spend most of your money in this game. Also, I'm going to try using the bee armor for this fight. I know the defense is weaker, but I think having the extra minions is going to help. And before I forget, several episodes ago when we were fighting the queen bee, we got these Beenades. And at the time I told you that they are useful for a boss a little bit later. This is that boss. They are very good against this boss, at least in the first stage of this boss. So definitely don't forget those. Normal grenades don't do so well. I think I want to craft a couple more iron skin potions just to make sure we're doing okay there. Okay, we are ready to take on this boss. Just kind of doing a mental checklist, make sure there was nothing else we wanted to do. I think we're good. Let's get to it. Okay, I've already taken all my potions. I'm gonna get a voodoo doll out and toss it in the lava. Now the first stage of this boss is all these, the hungries. Those are tentacles that reach out for you and try and run into you. Try and make good use of my magic weapons to take those out. Oh, no wait, that's where the Beenades come. So I'm just going to toss these Beenades out there, and look at the damage go. Don't want to use all of them because they are handy for repeat runs on this boss. So once all those hungries are out of the way, then we want to focus on the actual wall flesh itself. There's 3 different locations that you can hit, and it's all the same wherever you want to hit them. You just want to stay a good distance in front of him so he doesn't run into you, and try and move up and down as best you can to avoid getting hit by the lasers he fires. these leeches at you. Mostly a nuisance, and they do actually drop the healing hearts, so it can be a good thing. Alright, so after he dies, he spawns a box, and inside of that box you'll find the items that he drops. So he dropped a ton of gold. He always drops a Pwnhammer. The Pwnhammers are used to smash the altars. Taboo laser rifle, that's a good magic weapon. It's kind of like that space gun we had earlier, but fires faster. And there's no way to what's it called? There's no way to negate the mana cost. So another thing I like to do is leave one of these blocks. I try and be consistent about it, either the closest or the furthest away. This will be the furthest away. And that just kind of reminds me of what my best time was killing this boss. Because as you kill him over and over and over again, you'll start acquiring lots of these boxes floating in the air. You mostly want to clear them out of the way, but it's nice to have kind of a history and just to kind of time yourself in a way. See, like, okay, when I use this weapon, I was able to kill him by this point. When I use this weapon, I killed him by this point. So, the other thing is we can't just run back here and toss another idol into the pit. We have to have the guide NPC respawn. You get a message down in your lower left corner when that happens, but if you're not paying attention you might miss it. I wasn't paying attention, I may have missed it. And when you run out of these, it can be kind of a bother to find and kill the demons that drop them. So I don't really want to waste them by just throwing one in to see if he's respawned yet. So I guess what we ought to do is just head back to base and we'll come back and kill him again later. Alright, so here we are back at base. Doesn't look like anything has changed, everybody's still here. If we start adventuring to the left or the right, pretty soon we'll bump into some new areas. There, you hear that music change? So this is the hollow. Everything is all super happy, colorful, nice, but the monsters here will try and kill you. So don't let the looks deceive you. And this spreads just like the corruption and crimson does. I believe this was crimson before the change. Yeah. So this isn't new. But the hollow is definitely new. Also, the monsters that spawn in these areas are new and a lot tougher. So I'm sure if we go this way, we will find the crimson that has spawned. Let's see. Very well may have lined up with the crimson that was already there. It's not uncommon. Ah, Kyle the guide has arrived. Alright, that means we can go back and kill the wall of flesh again. Which is not a bad idea. He's got a lot of good items that are going to help us out. So, yeah, I'm going to do that now. Okay, this here is a mimic. Just like mimics in every other game you've ever played. They look like treasure chests, except they try and kill you. This is a newer mimic that was just added. time dealing any damage to them at all. Mostly I'm just trying to avoid them and stay alive, which is not working so well. We've also got some other enemies joining the fight. Yeah. Anyways, when you kill those mimics, they have very powerful items that they drop. So if you are able to do so, it is a very good idea to go ahead and kill them. Alright, here we go. Taking another round at them.
It's actually my third round. Forgot to record last one.
So we got the Clockwork Assault Rifle. That was probably the most important item that we want to get out of this fight. There are some other very useful accessories you can get that are sort of specific to whether you're a melee or a ranged kind of character. Out of all three fights I didn't get any of those, but this Clockwork Assault Rifle is a very good gun. Fires 3 shots and only uses 1 bullet to do so. That's very nice. So, against our first couple of bosses, that's going to be our weapon of choice. I'm going to kill this boss a few more times just to try and get some of those accessories. But at any rate, there's one more thing we need to do to really get hard mode officially started, and that is to smash some demon altars with a Pwnhammer and get some of those hard mode ores spawned in. So I'm going to kill this boss a few more times and then we'll do that real quick. Okay, so in order to spawn the hard mode ores, we need to return to the original Crimson with one of these Pwnhammers that we got from the Wall of Flesh and use it to break them. We want to make sure that we have one altar that's easy to get to at all times. So we're going to save that one. But any others that we find, we want to get to them and break them. Now there are some people who think that you should break as few as possible. Basically what happens when you break one, it blesses the world with the first stage of ore, and it also spawns in a little bit of either Crimson, Corruption, or Mold. It also summons some wraiths that come and try and kill you. That part's less important, but like say it spawns in some of the Crimson somewhere within our little quarantine, it can spread out and ruin our base. And every time that we break one of those things, there's a chance of that happening. I don't like looking all day for my ore. I like to find it as fast as possible. So I break as many as I can. So the second one you break gives you mithril, or the equivalent. Just like the normal mode ores, there's two flavors of each tier. So that's the second tier. And then the third one you break is going to give us titanium. And then that's going to repeat. So now the next one we break is going to give us that first ore again. Can't remember what it is now. And so on and so forth until we've broken as many as we can. Ow. Okay, so that's all the altars I can find right now. But that spawns in the ores that we need. We want to, before we take on any of the hard mode bosses, we want to craft the best possible armor that we can out of those ores. In my case, that is titanium. I think the alternative is adamantite. I don't know, can't remember what it's called, but that is our primary objective now. What I would recommend doing, because all the areas of the world now have tougher monsters, except the underworld. The underworld is still very much like it was before we killed the wall of flesh. Mainly for that purpose, so you can continue killing that wall of flesh until you get the items you need to do hard mode. So what I like to do is go down to the underworld and come up underneath inside of these little caves, because the better ores are going to mine, or are going to spawn down lower. Our molten pickaxe is only going to be able to mine that first stage of ore. I can't remember what it is. And then we just kind of have to mine enough of that ore to make a pickaxe, and then we'll be able to mine the next stage of ore until we can get that pickaxe and kind of work our way up the chain that way. So that's what we're going to be doing next episode. If you enjoyed this one, hit that like button, subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.